RiRi cries uncontrollably after ASAP Rocky's wedding. Surprise. The evening air in Los Angeles carried a strange kind of excitement that nobody could quite explain. The sky glowed with soft orange light as the sun slowly disappeared behind the hills. Luxury cars lined the entrance of a massive private estate overlooking the ocean. Security stood at every gate, while a long red carpet stretched toward a beautifully decorated garden. Inside the garden, thousands of white roses surrounded an elegant stage draped in silk. Crystal chandeliers hung from tall trees. A string quartet quietly rehearsed nearby. Yet strangely, the guest of honor had no idea why she had been invited. That guest was Rihanna. She stepped out of a sleek black SUV, adjusting the sleeve of her emerald gown. Cameras flashed instantly, capturing every move. Her eyebrows knitted together in confusion. "Why does this feel like the Met Gala?" She joked to her assistant. Her assistant only smiled mysteriously. "Just trust me." Rihanna walked toward the entrance, her heels clicking softly on the stone pathway. The garden looked magical, more extravagant than most award shows. Celebrities whispered to each other. Some hugged her warmly, others looked like they were trying to hide a secret. But no one explained anything. Rihanna laughed nervously. "What is going on tonight?" Still, nobody answered. Instead, someone gently guided her to the front row, right in the center. The string quartet suddenly stopped playing. The entire garden went quiet. A spotlight turned toward the stage. Then from behind the silk curtains walked ASAP Rocky. The crowd gasped. Rocky looked unusually serious. He wore a perfectly tailored white suit with a black rose pinned to his chest. Rihanna's face immediately softened. "Rocky?" she whispered under her breath. She hadn't expected him to appear tonight. He stepped up to the microphone, glancing around the crowd before his eyes finally landed on her. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence felt heavy. Then Rocky smiled nervously. "Tonight," he began, "is one of the most important nights of my life." The crowd leaned closer. Rihanna folded her arms, still confused but curious. Rocky continued, "You all know the love of my life." He gestured gently toward Rihanna. Applause erupted. Rihanna laughed shyly, covering her face. "Stop it," she mouthed. But Rocky didn't laugh. His voice suddenly trembled. From the moment I met you, I knew my life would never be the same." The garden grew silent again. "You changed everything for me." Rihanna's smile slowly faded. Something about his tone felt deeper than a speech. Rocky stepped down from the stage. Then he began walking directly toward her, step by step. Every guest turned to watch. Rihanna's heart began pounding. "What is he doing?" she whispered. Rocky stopped right in front of her. Then he reached into his pocket. The crowd gasped again. When he opened his hand, a diamond ring sparkled under the lights. Rihanna froze. Rocky dropped to one knee. The entire garden erupted in cheers. "Rihanna," he said softly, his voice shaking with emotion, "you are my best friend, my partner, my inspiration, and the only woman I want beside me forever." Tears instantly filled Rihanna's eyes. But Rocky wasn't finished. He turned slightly toward the stage. Suddenly, music started playing. A gospel choir stepped forward. The silk curtains behind the stage slowly opened, and what Rihanna saw next made her hand fly to her mouth. A full wedding altar stood behind them. Priests, decorations, flowers, even a marriage license waiting on a golden table. The crowd began whispering loudly. Rocky looked back at her with nervous excitement. "I didn't just plan a proposal tonight," he smiled gently. "I planned our wedding." Rihanna's eyes widened in shock. "What?" she whispered. Rocky laughed softly. "I know you hate waiting." The crowd burst into laughter. "So I thought, why not marry you tonight?" The choir began singing louder. Guests stood up cheering. Some of Rihanna's closest friends were already crying. But Rihanna wasn't laughing. Her lips trembled, her hands started shaking, and suddenly she began crying uncontrollably. Huge tears streamed down her face. Not the quiet tears of happiness, but overwhelming emotion. Rocky immediately stood up. Hey, what's wrong?" But she couldn't answer. She covered her face with both hands as her shoulders shook with sobs. The entire garden grew quiet. Rocky gently held her hands. "Talk to me." Rihanna looked at him through blurry tears. "You did all this for me?" Rocky nodded softly. "Of course I did." Her voice cracked. "You planned an entire wedding?" He smiled nervously. "Yeah, maybe that was crazy." But Rihanna shook her head. More tears fell. "You don't understand." Her voice trembled. This is the most beautiful, beautiful thing anyone has ever done for me. The crowd sighed in relief. Rocky chuckled softly. You scared me for a second. But Rihanna still hadn't stopped crying. She looked around at the decorations, the choir, their friends, the altar. Everything was real. Everything had been planned. For her. Her voice came out barely above a whisper. You really want to marry me tonight? Rocky stepped closer. More than anything. The wind gently moved through the garden as the choir softened their singing. Rihanna wiped her tears slowly, but they kept falling. I'm crying because I'm overwhelmed. She laughed through her tears. You really caught me off guard. Rocky smiled. That was the plan. The crowd chuckled. Then Rihanna looked at him again, deep into his eyes. Finally, she nodded. Yes. The garden exploded with cheers. Rocky laughed with relief before pulling her into a tight embrace. But Rihanna kept crying, hugging him as if she never wanted to let go. Moments later, the priest stepped forward. The choir began singing louder. And under the glowing lights of the garden, Rihanna and ASAP Rocky stood hand in hand at the altar. Still crying, still laughing, still shocked, but ready to begin the next chapter of their lives. Together. And as the stars appeared above the ocean, Rihanna whispered softly to Rocky, You really know how to surprise a girl. Rocky grinned. Just wait until the honeymoon. The golden sunset stretched across the Malibu coastline, painting the sky with streaks of orange, pink, and violet. Waves rolled gently against the sand, the rhythmic sound almost hypnotic. The private beachfront estate was glowing with soft candlelight and elegant decorations. White roses lined the pathway, leading to a massive glass pavilion overlooking the ocean. Guests whispered among themselves, dressed in luxurious evening wear, but one person had no idea why they were there. Rihanna stepped out of the black SUV slowly, her heels touching the smooth stone driveway. She looked around with confusion. Why does this look like a wedding? She asked quietly. Next to her, smiling mysteriously, stood ASAP Rocky. Rocky simply grinned. Just trust me tonight, Ree. That answer only made her more suspicious. The mysterious invitation. Earlier that morning, Rihanna had received a message from Rocky telling her to dress formally for a special celebration. He hadn't explained anything else. No details, no hints, nothing. Rihanna assumed it was some kind of industry party or charity gala. Rocky was known for pulling surprises, but this felt different. As they walked toward the pavilion, Rihanna noticed something strange. Everywhere she looked, she saw people she loved. Family members, close friends, music collaborators, even celebrities had gathered quietly in the candlelit space. Her best friend whispered to her, Just go with it. Rihanna laughed nervously. What is going on? But no one answered. The ceremony begins. Soft piano music suddenly filled the air. Guests slowly took their seats. A long aisle stretched through the center of the pavilion, covered with white petals. Rihanna looked at Rocky. Wait, this is definitely a wedding. Rocky nodded slowly. Her eyebrows lifted. Oh my God, whose wedding? Rocky turned toward her, his expression suddenly serious. Our wedding. Rihanna froze. For a moment, she thought she had misheard him. Our? What? Our wedding, Rocky repeated gently. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Rihanna stared at him in shock. You're joking. But he wasn't. The ultimate surprise. Rocky took her hands. We've been through everything together. Fame, pressure, love, chaos, and every single day I wake up knowing there's only one woman in this world I want to spend my life with. Rihanna's eyes widened. You planned a wedding? Without telling me? Rocky chuckled softly. Not exactly. He motioned toward the aisle. A woman approached holding a stunning wedding gown, elegant, shimmering, designed perfectly for Rihanna. Rihanna covered her mouth. You're serious? Rocky nodded. I wanted tonight to be unforgettable. Tears started filling her eyes, but she still wasn't sure how to react. Overwhelming emotions. Everything suddenly hit her at once. The love, the surprise, the pressure, the crowd watching. Her breathing became shaky. Rocky, this is crazy, he stepped closer. You don't have to say yes tonight. His voice softened. But I wanted to show you how serious I am about us. Rihanna tried to speak, but the emotions were too overwhelming. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Then suddenly, she started crying. Not gentle tears, not quiet tears, but uncontrollable sobbing. Guests gasped in concern. RiRi breaks down. Rihanna buried her face in her hands. Oh my God, I can't believe you did this. Her shoulders shook as the tears kept coming. Rocky panicked slightly. Hey. He wrapped his arms around her carefully. I didn't mean to overwhelm you. But Rihanna kept crying. The emotions were flooding out faster than she could stop them. Years of love, years of public scrutiny, years of wondering where their relationship would go. And suddenly, a wedding, right in front of her. The truth behind her tears. After several minutes, Rihanna finally managed to speak through her tears. You idiot, Rocky blinked. What? She laughed through the crying. You absolute idiot. Rocky looked completely confused. Is that good or bad? Rihanna wiped her face and looked up at him. I'm crying because I'm happy. The crowd let out a relieved murmur. Rocky's shoulders dropped. You scared me. She smiled through tears. You planned an entire wedding surprise. Rocky nodded proudly. Months of planning. Rihanna shook her head. You're insane. Then she looked at the dress again and began crying all over again. The moment that changed everything. Rocky gently took her hand. So what do you say? Rihanna sniffled. You really want to marry me tonight? Rocky smiled. I've wanted to marry you for years. The crowd held their breath. Rihanna looked at the ocean, the sunset, their family and friends. Then back at Rocky. More tears rolled down her face. But this time they were different. Happy, hopeful, real. She whispered softly, yes. The entire pavilion exploded with cheers. The wedding that no one expected. 30 minutes later, Rihanna walked down the aisle in the most breathtaking gown anyone had ever seen. The ocean breeze moved gently through the pavilion. Rocky stood waiting at the altar, looking both nervous and completely in love. When Rihanna reached him, she whispered, You're still crazy. Rocky grinned, But you love me. She nodded. Unfortunately, they both laughed. And moments later, they said their vows. The tears that became joy. As the officiant pronounced them married, Rocky pulled Rihanna into a kiss. The crowd erupted. Rihanna laughed and cried at the same time. I can't believe you did this. Rocky wrapped his arm around her. Best surprise ever. She wiped her eyes again. You're lucky I love, he smiled. I know. And as fireworks lit up the night sky over the ocean, Rihanna realized something. Sometimes the most overwhelming surprises lead to the happiest endings. And for the first time that night, her tears finally stopped.